everybody. um, my heart is palpitating, as Heather said. Oh my God. We just like ran for coffee. Thanks, babe. So welcome to Free Motion Quilting Friday. We are here. We are going to actually work on the free motion quilting of these placemats together today. But let me get this video pulled up so that I can see us. I can see you. Let me make sure that it's muted over here so that we don't have to listen. Oh, Javi, you're so cute. All right, say hi if you are here with me live. I am going to change out my foot and then we're going to get started in earnest. Guys, I am so excited for how many of you have been jumping on the Quilting Rockstar panel bandwagon. It's so awesome. So a couple of things with that. One, if you have ordered Quilting Rockstar panels from us, I think we're all caught up on orders right now. So your orders should be en route. Number two, if you have your Quilting Rockstar panel, take pictures. Take pictures when it comes in the mail. Take pictures as you're working on it. Like, we want to see you quilting these panels. Third, we have partnered with a local organization here in Duluth called Preface Project. And Preface Project is an early childhood literacy organization. They're based here in Duluth. They're serving about 9, 10, 11, something like that, nearly a dozen states in the US right now, and looking to figure out how to expand worldwide. And what Preface does is they're seeking to close the gap of literacy for kids in elementary school. So here in the US, about 2/3 of kids in elementary school are not reading at grade level. That is a really big deal, especially because reading level by third grade has a lot of predictors for what's going to happen in a kid's future, right? The likelihood of them dropping out of college, of them engaging in illegal activity, of them just struggling to hold steady work and have the life satisfaction as a productive member of society really goes down with less literacy, right? And we want our kids to be thriving. We want them to be growing up to be fulfilled and happy individuals, right? So Preface has taken this very seriously and is making a difference with this by partnering with really engaged high school students who want an opportunity to give back in their local communities. They're teaching them about literacy, teaching them about reading techniques, and then they're pairing them one-on-one with a struggling elementary school kid. Here's the best part. Every single Preface Project kid who starts the year barely reading or reading below grade level, they are at or above grade level by the end of the year. And for many of these kids, they are at or above grade level much sooner than that. So Preface is working, and it's allowing students to connect with each other. It's strengthening communities. It's just basically awesome. In addition to that, Preface is able to do all of this work at no cost to the schools that they're involved with. And they're also able to provide libraries of books in different languages, representing different cultures, ethnicities, etc., so that kids can see themselves in the books that they're reading. Being able to see yourself in the book that you're reading is a huge point of connection, and it makes reading more fun. So it is so exciting to be working with them. And this is relevant to the Quilting Rockstar panels because every single thing that String and Story sells between now and July 22nd, 25% of it is going to Preface Project. Now, just to give you guys a little bit of context on things like the panels or the thread, our profit margin is about 50%. So half of our profit margin is going directly to Preface. The rest of it, of course, is helping String and Story keep being String and Story so we can be here for you. But our goal, it's a very audacious goal. Our goal is to donate $5,000 to Preface Project. So if you've been looking for an excuse to buy panels, an excuse to buy solids, an excuse to buy threads, an excuse to enroll in Intro to Free Motion Quilting, here's your excuse. As we're heading back to school, help us make literacy more accessible for the kids in our schools. All right? Yay. Thank you. I'm not seeing your chat, which makes me very sad. I'm hoping that you're here and you're chatting. And if not, on the replay, I'm so thrilled that you're on the replay. Let me get this turned on and we're going to start quilting. I have no idea where my quilting gloves are. Here we go. We're just bopping. We're just bopping around here. Okay. Perfect. All right, we're on FMQ. I need to take my shoe off because I cannot free motion quilt with a shoe on. If you are here live, do say hi in the chat. I really want to be able to see you. I'm switching it to live chat. It might be a glitch on my end. I see that some of you guys are here. Let me drop the Quilting Rockstar panels link for you guys as well. And if you are curious to learn more about Preface Project, there's a ton of information on our Instagram. There's Sarah. Hello. There's a ton of information on our Instagram. Um, and I will link to some of those posts in the caption of this video after we finish being live. Okay, here's what I'm thinking through right now. So you can see from Tove, I'm so glad you're here from Norway. All right, so we have three things we need to do. We need to do switchbacks here along the side. We need to do switchbacks in the center, and then we need to do meanders. The switchbacks in the center is the only one that we're gonna have to do like every single one individually breaking thread. The switchbacks down the side we'll be able to do in one long stripe. And then the meanders will actually be able to do pretty unbroken as well. So let's start with these switchbacks in the center and kind of get them over with because they're going to require breaking thread, burying ends, and there's just not a good way around that. Let's do that first. I got to get my thread through my foot here. Hello, Suzanne. I'm so thrilled that you're here. So what I did just then, as I was kind of assessing where I wanted to begin this morning with our quilting, is kind of the next step when you're making a quilting plan, right? So your first step of making a quilting plan is going to be deciding what you want to quilt where. That's often the part that paralyzes us, right? It feels really overwhelming sometimes to decide what motif we want to quilt where. But from there, we then have to decide the order in which we're going to quilt something. And what I decided to do today is I'm just tackling the most tedious bit first. This is the part that, I won't love as much because I'm going to have to keep stopping and breaking thread, break my rhythm. So we're just going to get that over with together because then the rest of it will be all downhill. Bum, bum. So I have 3 of these dresses, you guys, and I'm just chuckling because I'm looking at this and I have a mustard, I have an orange, and I have this light blue, and I enjoy color coordinating with my quilts. All right, why is my foot, why are we not moving? That is not how it should be. Oh, break thread, which I don't love doing. So we're troubleshooting now. So basically what happened, just to give you guys narration, got my quilt under here, and for reasons that I am unsure about, my presser foot is sitting too low. We're going to turn it off and turn it back on. Something in the calibration is wrong, and we're going to see if we can figure out. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but I put my needle down, went to start quilting, and was like, wait, I can't move my quilt. Like, why can I not move my quilt? And it is still very, very low. Fascinating. So here's what's really, y'all will understand this. Here's what's great. Hey, Shane. Here's what's great, and I mean great very tongue-in-cheek here, about something like working with a machine, as I have not touched my machine in several days. I have not fooled with the settings. Like, nothing should be a problem, and yet here we are with something being a problem. Like, why? So just in case you're sitting at home and you think you're the only one who has mysterious things like this happen, you're not. It's very normal. All right, what is everyone working on this morning? Shane, I'm so glad. That's part of why I love doing live videos with you guys, is because I actually really enjoy troubleshooting live. All right, we're back in business. So I don't know if it was rebooting the machine or fiddling around with the screw here, but something just wasn't seated quite right, and now we can see that I can move around. All right, but Shane, part of the reason that I enjoy live video is because inevitably I have to troubleshoot on camera, and I think that's really healthy, right? Like, don't get me wrong. I love filming YouTube videos that are pre-recorded, they're shiny and crisp, but I also know that there is an element, of unrelatability to that at times if it is too perfect. Now, I will say some of the videos that we shot recently, there's some funky stuff in them because it's real life, and I don't want things to be over edited when I'm sharing and teaching, right? But something that I love about live videos, there's just kind of no getting around it, and I don't always know what's going to go sideways. Just like you don't always know what might go sideways in your sewing room. And we are doing real life together. All right, so these are very long switchbacks. I'm really concentrating on my right arm here. Notice that I have my right arm positioned very parallel to how I'm quilting these switchbacks. I'm using my left arm for a bit of stability. I'm actually giving the fabric a slight tug out to the left just to hold everything really, really flat. But I'm using my right arm to guide these switchbacks, and I'm really concentrating on using my shoulder joint to move very smoothly back and forth in a straight line. It's not perfect because these are about 4 inches across, and that is a long switchback. Oh, but it helps, all right? It helps a lot. All right, now I'm just teasing up that bobbin thread. Good thing I washed my hair this morning, so my roots look nice for you guys. Hello, hello. All right, what's everybody working on? Are you quilting your panels? That's what I really want to know. Are we quilting together? That would be very fun. Also, y'all, I have a question. We have an idea that we have been brainstorming here at String and Story. So you guys know that we have Intro to Free Motion Quilting, which is our mini course, and it teaches you all the motifs that I'm using on these panels, right? Yay! Just ordering your panel, Sarah. I love that. So we have these panels, right? And we have Intro to Free Motion Quilting. I've had a few people ask if I'm going to teach classes on these panels. And here's what I'm curious about. If I were to teach, a paid class, we're in a Zoom call together, we are together for, a couple of hours, and we're quilting a panel in real time together. Would you be more interested in that class being Intro to Free Motion Quilting? So we would start at, what supplies do you need, adjusting your tension, things like that, and then moving into actually quilting the panel together. So you would go from learning your very first free motion quilting motifs to quilting essentially your first quilt within this workshop. So would you be more interested in that? Or would you be more interested in an intermediate to advanced workshop on these panels where we're not using these introductory level motifs and we're using the motifs that are taught more in Free Motion Quilting Academy? So things like paisleys or feathers or graffiti quilting, like just more complex quilting. So if we were to offer a live class where I'm teaching on these panels, which would you find more attractive? That's what I want to know. Shane is pinning everything she pressed yesterday. Love it. Love it. I'm here live with you guys right now. I'm teaching an entrepreneur workshop midday, and then I have a meeting in the afternoon. But I got to be honest, I'm really just hoping I get to quilt the rest of the time. I was thinking about that this morning. I was like, I just want to sit and quilt for a day. That sounds real nice. All right, so we've got 3 of these left. And then while we're in the switchback groove, we will probably go ahead and tackle the little border bit. Oh, I didn't finish what I was saying earlier about deciding, what order you're going to quilt something in. So basically by deciding to do these switchbacks in the center first, I call this eating the frog, all right? It's the thing that I'm like, "Ugh, it's gonna be the least efficient." It's not my favorite, but I want to do it because I like how it looks. So we're gonna eat the frog first and get this, clunkier hello oh, Havana. Hi, all the way up if you're coming up. Come on. Boop a doop a doop boop. Push. Sit. You can't be on the quilt. We discussed this a couple weeks ago. This quilt, Mom, you can't be on the quilt. You cannot be on the quilt. Yeah. What does she do? She sits on the quilt. You're very cute. You're very cute. Good morning, Kathy. Good morning, Amanda. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Look at you. Look at you. Are you just wanting to be the star? But listen, you have a quilt. Come on. Come on. Come on. Right here. You have a quilt. This is your quilt. You need to be on that quilt. Yes, you do. Come on. You cannot be under one to mommy's quilting. There you go. Stay. Hey, stay. Never adult. No. Sit. Happy. Good. Stay. Where were we? No. No. She's like, but mom. No. Off. All right. As we were. So we're eating this frog first, getting it done, convincing the dog that we do, in fact, need to be focusing on quilting and not on her. I'm really concentrating on that straight back and forth motion. Because when you're over here on the edges, it's fairly easy to use this seam, right, as our guideline. But the reality is that somewhere in the middle there, it gets a little hairy. It gets harder to keep track of true vertical. And that's where practicing moving your body and making use of the fact that your shoulder joint does a great job of going straight forward and straight back is going to be useful. Ooh, Shane says, I would love a class on Lanterns of Hope talking through how to custom quilt, looking at the aspects of the quilt and how to pop up various areas. Ooh, Shane, I like that idea. We may end up doing multiple classes, like truth be told, but I'd like to offer something before the end of the month and, brainstorming what up. So Shane, would you be more interested in talking through like different motifs you could choose to work within the piecing, or would you be more interested in quilting like this? So quilting outside the lines where, I've got a combination of ruler work and various motifs, and I've just kind of made my own thing on here. Um, what style of custom are we thinking, Shane? I could be talked into either one very easily. My kids are getting ready to go back to school. My inner teacher is like, it's back to school time. It's time to be teaching. Let's do all the things. Just can't help myself. I don't know if you guys know that. I actually went to school to be a teacher. The plan was to teach middle school literature. Whole bunch of life things happened. So I finished my bachelor's, but I did not get the master's degree that I needed in order to have my teaching certification in the state of Georgia. And then we decided to go ahead and start our family. And I had the boys. And then String and Story came along. And y'all, String and Story turns 5 this month. How exciting is that? Is Savannah doing something cute? Heather's over here taking pictures of the dog. We can't blame her. She's darn cute. But String and Story turns 5 at the end of the month, and I think that's probably part of why I'm excited to do some more teaching as well. Ma'am, we already discussed this. No. Get down. Stay. I don't know if y'all could see, but she just wagged her tail like, but mom, I'm real cute. I'm like, you are very, very cute, but you don't need to be up here. Let's see. Shane says I'm a very inside the lines kind of person. I'm interested in learning how to honor the work the artist did in piecing the quilt and absolutely pop the quilt. Ooh, I like that. Cindy says too early to be quilting here in California. That's true. It is very early. Cindy, it's what, like 6:52 for you? Is that coming up on 7? That's real early. I'm still on my first cup of coffee and it's almost 10 here. All right. Yep. Okay, so inside the lines for Shane. Yes, it's almost 7 for Cindy. That's very early. Cindy, I'm so delighted that you're here. How wonderful. Mhm. All right. Last one. This time just flies by, you guys. Now, I do want to make a little just observation for y'all. Um, because the goal is we're hopefully gonna be quilting table runners next week because I'm working my way through these panels with you guys, right? Um, but I want to just make a note that it took about 30 minutes last week for us to do the stitch in the ditch. It's taking about 30 minutes this week. It would have taken a little bit less than that if we hadn't had to troubleshoot, but always leave time for troubleshooting. About 30 minutes to do these center switchbacks. I would guess that it will take maybe 15 minutes to do the switchbacks down the side. And then probably about 30 minutes to meander the backgrounds of all these. So if you're doing that math with me, quilting this set of placemats takes a couple of hours, which is not very long. You know, that is a modest weekend afternoon project. And then add some time for binding depending on how quickly you bind, etc. But that's a modest weekend project to get fresh table runners on your table, some good free motion quilting practice, maybe gift done. Y'all, we're coming up on Christmas in July here next week. And just a reminder that Christmas and the other holidays are right around the corner. And these panels are going to make great gifts this year. I can tell you what my mom is getting for Christmas. She's getting placemats for Christmas. Like, maybe table runners. She actually is very much a table runner person. So maybe table runners. But yeah, I like to do that math for you when I can because it honestly is fairly rare that I have such a good measure of how long a project takes. I'm terrible at tracking quilting time. I mean, just absolutely horrible. Whoop, come on. My bobbin thread is just not wanting to come up. Come on. There we go. So basically these two threads twist together. And so when I'm pulling the bobbin thread up, that was a very short cut, but we'll make do. When I'm pulling that bobbin thread up, I have to get the tip of my seam ripper kind of between the twists. Good morning, Helen. Amanda says, I have a degree in early education, but life happened and I was never a school teacher. Yes, Amanda. Yeah, and honestly, at this point, I'll probably never be in a traditional classroom, but I teach every day. And that's something that's really interesting. My mom and I were talking about that not too long ago because I went to a private university or private college. It wasn't a university. Um, and, it was like my parents made some really big sacrifices to be able to send me there all 4 years. And my mom asked me not too long ago, this is probably about a year ago now. She was like, was it worth it? Like, was your degree worth it? And, that's a complicated question because I could have gotten, an equivalent degree somewhere else less expensively. Um, but having the degree itself, right? And I told her, I said, Mom, it was absolutely worth it. And I was like, here's why. I was like, I use my degree every single day. My degree is in three things. All right. I have my bachelor's is in English literature, and my minors are in secondary education and linguistics. I use those things every single day. And so it's just amazing that I went to college and got this degree, and it didn't get used the way I thought it would, but that knowledge has been super valuable as part of String and Story. Good morning, Patty. All right, so some of y'all who have just hopped on, what are you working on this morning? Or if it's very early where you are, like for Cindy, are you drinking coffee, tea, something else? And any big weekend plans? Now, y'all, we normally go till 10. I'm going to go a little bit longer this morning because I feel like it. And because I want you guys to be able to come together a little bit more. So on these, probably would have had more luck putting the bulk of the quilt up on the table. That was a mistake that I made. Let's see if we can do it that way, actually, even with, that's going to mean that I'm moving toward the bed of my machine, which is not my favorite, but I think it's going to be easier having the bulk up there. I'm using the printed stripes on this kind of faux piano keyboarder as a reference for what is vertical. And I am not bringing the switchback all the way to the edge because I need to have room for my binding. And unfortunately, my edges are not super even at the moment, but that's okay. It won't be noticeable once the binding's on there. Now, just like with a pieced piano keyboard, we're going to want to be careful not to be stretching this as you're quilting. I noticed that I was doing that a little bit. It will warp the edge of your placemat, and it'll also like make your lines not straight out anymore, right? So be careful not to be tugging as you're working. Try to hold kind of straightforward. It's a little bit different than the switchbacks that I was doing in the center, where I was putting a little bit of tug on the fabric to make sure it was really flat. Here I need to trust that any ease that is in the fabric is going to get slurped up by these nice switchbacks. And I want to make sure that these piano keys stay nice and square. I love that we both got derailed from our original teaching plans, but found it worth it. Helen's working on EPP. Susanna's working on a real job. Yes, finish the baby quilt later. We're going to a 1-year-old's birthday party tomorrow. And I'm trying to decide if I want to go to the local boutique over here and get her a little Matchbox mouse. I don't know if you guys have seen this. It's like a little mouse, a little like mouse stuffy with a few little accessories that lives in a little Matchbox bed. It's very cute. So I'm trying to decide if I want to buy her that, or if I have time to quilt a Lanterns of Hope panel for her and get it bound, which feels very ambitious, but also very adorable. You know what I mean? Little July baby. I feel like a little spring, summer Lanterns of Hope would be very cute. All right, so what I'm going to do here, I'm literally just bridging the gap, and I'm going to keep going. Havana has to go investigate the sound of the ambulance. Now, not putting that sideways pull on these piano keys is made trickier by the fact, right, that we're moving sideways. So just be mindful of that. Reposition your hands often so that you're not getting that tug. Yes, this is one of my new panels. This is one of the Sawtooth Star placemats. This is the fall colorway. Great question, I see stars. Isn't it fun though? It doesn't look like a panel. I think that's my favorite thing about these panels is that once you get them quilted, they look pieced. And that was the goal. The goal was to truly remove the anxiety of, I'm going to ruin this quilt that I pieced by providing something that looks pieced, and it gives your brain evidence that, oh, I could piece these or something similar to this. I could piece sawtooth stars or another star pattern. I could piece a piano key border and quilt it and not ruin it, right? So not only does it give you an affordable, like time-saving practice tool for in between a practice sandwich and a pieced quilt, because they look pieced. These are the types of shapes that you might truly be piecing. They're all based on patterns that are available in my shop. So you literally could piece variations of these if you wanted to. It gives your brain hard evidence that you're capable of quilting a pieced quilt and it looking fabulous at the end. It also means if something goes sideways, that it'll be more useful to autopsy it, if you will, right? So if something were to go sideways and you didn't like how it looked, you'd be able to say like, okay, in the future, if I have a sawtooth star quilt that I piece, let's say, for example, let's say you did switchbacks in the center here. These are pretty large switchbacks. Let's say you did switchbacks in the center and you go, wow, I hate that, right? Like I completely loathe how that turned out. First of all, low stakes, right? Because this is a printed panel. It's a placemat. You know what you do if you hate that? You put the plate right there. Nobody has to see it at the dinner table. It's great. But it also tells you in the future, oh, I've spent all this time piecing a sawtooth star quilt from all of my favorite scraps. You know what I'm not going to do? I am not going to put switchbacks in the center because I learned when I did that panel that I don't like it, right? So it gives you really useful information. Yay! I'm so glad that you've ordered a few of them. And guys, do remember that now, or really earlier this week, so Tuesday of this week, I think was the first day, through July 22nd, 25% of everything we sell at String and Story, panels, thread, fabric, classes, patterns, everything is getting donated to Preface Project to support early childhood literacy as we're all getting ready to head back to school, okay? I did a whole spiel on Preface at the beginning, so I'm not going to repeat myself for folks who have been here all the way through, but if you weren't here, when we wrap this up, go back and rewatch the beginning of this video and learn about the awesome stuff that Preface is doing. It's a truly incredible organization. It's making a really big difference. One of their founders, JT, actually received another award last night for the work that he's doing with Preface. I had the opportunity to congratulate him when I saw that announcement yesterday. So they are doing very cool things, making a big difference. And as a kid, like, so I'm an only child, right? An introvert, a very social introvert, but an introvert. And so for as long as I can remember, like reading has been absolutely everything to me. It's how I traveled. I had friends in my books. Um, it's how I've learned so many things. I mean, honestly, like reading is how I've built this business. Um, Often in the form of audiobook these days because then I can quilt and read at the same time. But as someone for whom literacy has just truly meant the world, and someone, you know, my degree is in literature. I really wanted to um, teach English to kiddos, teach reading and writing. So as someone, you know, who's very passionate about this, I'm very passionate about this cause. So if you need an excuse to shop, there's your excuse to shop. All right. I don't know. It's probably redundant. Oh, okay. Pulled up easy. I was like, I don't really need a thread tail here, so pulling these up is not really that vital, but we'll go with it. All right, so now we're going to go down the other way on this side. So, you know, unflip your quilt. Always keep tabs on where the edges of your quilts are. Let's see. How do we want to go about this? I want to flip it around this. So I'm thinking through how to have the least amount of fabric in my lap, okay? And then I'm going to want to start way down here at this end. So see how nice that looked? We just went straight down the whole row. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And we're going to do the same thing over here. But this time I'm going to start from the beginning, having, you know, more of the quilt up on the quilting table. And I'm going to put the bulk up underneath my machine so that as I quilt, it moves out from under the throat space. Because listen, I have a giant throat space. This is an 11-inch throat. It's still annoying to have anything up under there. Oh no, I don't want my needle raised up. Sorry, I bumped my button. Bumped my button. All right, did anyone else have thoughts on classes you would like to see offered about these panels? I mean, we're kind of doing mini classes here on YouTube Live, but you know, if you wanted to be quilting in real time with me, you know, be in Zoom, be able to turn on your camera and ask questions, troubleshoot, you know, in real time, what would that look like for you? What kind of class would you like? Which panel would you like me to use? What kinds of motifs? What kind of quilting styles? These are the important questions, you know. The back to school teacher in me is ready to schedule all the classes. All right, so notice I have my hand out like this on this side, just to get this edge kind of over here, and now I have enough room to put my hand. So I'm gonna put my hand down flat because I don't want to be putting too much sideways tug on there, just like we talked about, okay? I'm trying to space these so that one side of the switchback lands kind of in the imaginary ditch on these stripes, so it doubles as like a stitch in the ditch. I was doing a better job on the other ones. These are a little bit funky, but that's all right. Again, this is something that is only going to be noticeable to me right now and won't even be noticeable to me once this gets washed. Feel like we're about to run out of bobbin thread. Yep, there it is. I was like, oh, it's making the sound. How many of you guys can hear when your bobbin is running low? I'm finally, it's truly taking me years, but I'm finally getting there with this machine. That if I'm paying attention, I can catch it. All right, so notice what I'm doing here. I'm just picking back a few stitches. And I'm going to keep picking back until that bobbin thread is long enough that I could bury it, which is going to be probably most of this switchback. Do this really gently so you don't accidentally cut the needle thread with the blade on your seam ripper. Because remember, down in the little crook is a blade. And hopefully a sharp one so that you can, you know, handle your seams easily. All right, that's probably long enough. We can probably get away with that. Let's see. IC Stars, when is the next FMQ Academy class? FMQ Academy opens August. I can give you a date because I have it right here. Enrollment opens on August 27th. And we'll be making announcements next week about the new pricing. As you know, we professionally refilmed Free Motion Quilting Academy back in April, so that's going to be reflected in the tuition here in August. But we're actually going to offer two, this is all brand new information, so y'all are like the first to get to hear about this. This is very exciting. We're actually going to offer 2 tracks for the first time ever. So up until this point, like everyone who signs up has been all together. But for the first time ever, we're going to offer a self-study. So you truly just get access to the lessons. They're going to drip out over 6 or 7 weeks. You can work through them at your own pace. If you want to graduate from the class, you'll be able to submit your final projects, but you'll do it all on your own. So this is especially useful for folks who are like not big users of social media. You're just a pretty independent student anyway, right? And that's going to be a lower tuition rate. But then we're going to have the full tuition, which is going to be the like full VIP. So there's going to be some information coming out about that later. I strongly encourage all of y'all to do the VIP, which is the full track, so that you're with everyone, but we are like kind of toying with, you know, the option of offering a self-study. So it's going to be exciting. bobbin. I'm like, what? I'm in the middle of doing a thing. What was I in the middle of doing? I got all excited about Free Motion Quilting Academy. Ugh. Y'all, the current students just did module 4. So they're in fancy fillers. We're getting ready to head into graffiti quilting and then into feathers, which is just, it's such an exciting point in the class. Like the beginning motifs have really been conquered. All right, we're gonna need a brush. The beginning motifs have really been conquered. Everyone is excited to head into really the next level. And I feel like right around modules 4 and 5 is when the hard work of those early weeks really starts to pay off. That's often when I start seeing comments in the Facebook group that's saying things like, you know, oh my gosh, like this is finally clicking, basically. Is that the correct way to put my bobbin in? Yeah, it is. Okay. Anybody else still second guess their bobbin race from time to time? All right, let's do just a little bit more on these switchbacks. And then the final step on this, you guys, is just simply going to be to meander the whole background. Okay, and that's extremely straightforward. But with that, let me show you after I trim this up. I'll do just like I've done with the switchbacks of like, I will start, you know, probably up here. I may start down here because it doesn't really matter. I'm going to start like in the white so I don't have to bury the ends, right? Meander this whole thing, go straight into the orange, meander the whole thing. I'll probably then travel in this no man's land over here, over to the navy, do that. And then I'll use any white spaces to travel as I need, just so I don't have to break thread for any of that meander. And like, it'll look kind of sloppy around the edges, but it doesn't really matter because all of that's going to get trimmed away as soon as this quilting is finished so that I can bind these. Then I need to hurry up and quilt myself some summer ones before summer is over, since I'll be ready for fall. All right, so same thing here. See, I just looped across in that white space. I'm just gonna keep switch back in my way all the way down. Now, I did a thing, and I wanna point it out to you guys so that you are aware. I put a new bobbin in, and I did not check my tension. I don't officially advise that. Yes, exactly, Sarah. So for these panels, I will cut right along the edge. You know, I may leave like a little 1/8 of an inch of white, right? But I basically will slice these apart and then I will bind them and they will be placemats. So you can quilt all 6 placemats at once as a panel. That way you only have to baste once. You can move. This is a good size of thing to be moving around under your machine. You know, you get too small and the edges get persnickety, you get too big. It's just a lot of bulk. It takes more time. So these are a really comfortable size to be moving around under your machine. Then you cut them up into placemats. Ta-da! I know. There also has been speculation. Cindy, I think this may have been your idea, which, you know, you can claim it even if it's not, or you can correct me if you remember whose it was. But one rock star recommended too that you could cut and like leave the white around like a couple of these and then use them as 2 sides of a tote bag, right? And so then you would sew them together and you would use that white so you get like the full width, right? And then it would be up to you, you know, how you wanted to enclose that seam or if you wanted to enclose that seam on the inside. And then you just add straps and you have a tote bag. Very cool, right? So yes, 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 yes. All right, the thing that I did though, I changed bobbins and it looks like I got away with it. I changed bobbins and I did not check my tension, okay? Now, it just so happens I have found from experience that this machine and its bobbin winder are very reliable. So if I am not changing thread weight, it is exceedingly rare that I have an issue going from bobbin to bobbin. However, it is possible. And, you know, when that goes wrong, it is not good. So I do recommend that if you change bobbins, take a minute, clean out your bobbin race, and then check your tension again. It takes an extra, you know, 30 to 60 seconds, but it is worth it to not have tension issues, because tension issues could be caused by something being funky with the new bobbin, but tension issues could also be caused by lint buildup in your machine from having just stitched a whole bobbin, okay? I wonder if that was the same ambulance that went by a minute ago. Cindy, it was you. Oh, I'm so glad. Cindy, you're a genius. I've been telling everybody that. I'm like, this is such a cool idea. I haven't done it yet, obviously, but I'm like, I really need to. I really need to do that. It's also got me thinking, like, you know, could it become a backpack? What could we do? So yeah, part of me, you guys, is like, oh, there's gonna be more Quilting Rockstar panels. Like, we're just gonna have panels for days. And then part of me is like, I don't know if we need more Quilting Rockstar panels. I feel like I'm gonna be really busy making different projects out of these for like the rest of my life. I just, so thrilling. So yeah, Cindy, you're a genius. I've been telling everybody. All right, remember, don't bring that switch back all the way to the edge because you need to have room for your binding, okay? Hi, Heavy. She's gonna come up here. What? I think she's saying, Mom, is it time for another walkie? What? Didn't we already have this conversation? Didn't we already have this conversation? She has me wrapped around her paw. Let's be honest. All right, get down. We're almost done. We're gonna finish this and then we'll say bye, okay? She's like, but Mom. All right, so there I had a little jog in my stitching. There's not going to be a good way to show it to you guys, but if you're part of Free Motion Quilting Academy, you know that we talked about this last night. If you're not part of Free Motion Quilting Academy, let me do my best to describe it. So basically, when I say I have a little jog in my stitching, you know, I'm stitching along nice and straight, and I've got a little stitch that, you know, kind of, and that often happens when you're stopping or starting. No, get off. Get off. Thank you. When you're stopping and starting and you move your hands before everything is either fully stopped or fully started. All right. So keep in mind when you're getting going, get your hands nice and positioned. Let it take a stitch or two in place before you start moving. All right. It's going to make for smoother stops and starts. You also don't want to be tugging on your fabric as you get started, because then as soon as that needle starts to move, your fabric will shift just a little bit. So you just want to be resting your hands, you know, and remember your feed dogs are either down or they're not going to have the foot to engage with. And so your quilt's not going to run off, right? It's not like when we're piecing that we need kind of a grip on the thing because the feed dogs are going to run away with it. Like your quilt is not running away. So just let your machine take a stitch or two in place and then you can get going. Same thing when you're stopping. Okay, as we come to a stop, don't move your hands until the needle is totally done moving, all right? And that will just help prevent those little jogs. Now, I'm all for teaching a technique to help you prevent them. The other thing that I want to point out is those little jogs very, very quickly, very, very quickly vanish once your quilt is washed, okay? So they're not something that you need to be picking out or stressing over. Just be mindful of your starts and stops, and you will notice that you will have fewer and fewer of them. I think fear of those little jogs is sometimes why we don't stop to reposition our hands when we need to. And so I wanna remove any anxiety you may have about that. All right. There's something that will get better with practice, and it is important for you to give yourself permission to pause and move your hands when you need to. Okay. Let's see. Oh, you suggested cutting it apart to quilt. like to quilt the, hang on, my brain is quitting. Cutting it apart to quilt them for the bag, Cindy. That's an interesting idea. Another idea that you could do is you could cut, instead of using like two this way, you could use two this way and fold. So you could basically French seam this little bit. So quilt these two. You could French seam this bit, and then you'd only have to join this edge and this edge. And so you'd have less that needs to be enclosed. So you'd have one side and the bottom, but you know, at least would have one seam that's nice and neat. Quilt the placemats or runners. Oh, cutting them apart to quilt them? Yes, because you could treat them as practice sandwiches that way. Yeah. I also feel like, where is one of my, now I'm just going down a rabbit hole. We're going to go down a rabbit hole for a second. Where is, here's one of my table runners. I feel like you could get pretty creative with these table runners too, as far as what you could make out of them. I feel like there could be a backpack in these somewhere. You know what I mean? Like a flip over backpack. So quilt it and then fold it. I don't think you would get the little hexagons like centered on the backpack necessarily, unless you maybe put some borders on it, but fold it up so that, you know, you've got like the body and then the flap. You know, just crazy ideas. Crazy ideas. It also makes me kind of want to make like a range backpack. Do y'all remember when we made the range backpacks last year? Kind of makes me want to make a range backpack out of these panels, like quilt some panels and then cut the range pieces out of them. I feel like there could be something in there. All right, I will quit brainstorming for now. Guys, thank you so much for joining me for another Free Motion Quilting Friday. We went for almost a whole hour today. What a treat. And we got all the switchbacks done on these panels. So from here, without even breaking thread, I can go straight into quilting these meanders. Then I will bury threads, bind these babies, and be ready to put them on the table. So thank you so much for joining me. Again, I'm going to drop the link for the shopping for these Rockstar panels. There's also a link on there to Intro to Free Motion Quilting. So go shop, help us support Preface Project. Start working on some holiday gifts or fall and winter decor or summer decor or birthday gifts, all the things. These panels are versatile, they're fun to quilt, and they're a really great practice step. If you're a new free motion quilter, from in between your practice sandwiches before you get to the quilts that you have so meticulously pieced. If you're an experienced free motion quilter, they're just fun as an excuse to do some free motion without that middle step of doing the piecing. So go quilt with confidence. Have a fabulous weekend. I'll see you soon.